wish I can go back in time and erase it. Fighting demons, fighting cases, living through the walls of trials and tribulation.
What's up, everybody? Dean here. Welcome back to As Deep as It Gets. So we're heading into that weird part of the year where everything just sort of slows down a little bit. You know, the days are shorter. It's dark by 5:05. Everybody's talking holiday gifts, Friendsgiving. Speaking of which, if I got any friends having any parties, I'll be home in the holidays. I expect your invitation. Just kidding. You know, all the food, parties, and deals are just absolutely running amok this time of year. You know, and if you're, ambitious and like to be outside and, staying active, it almost sort of feels like the world hits pause right now when you might want to go, go, go. At least that's how I feel. I've often been wondering what it would be like for me if I lived somewhere where it was warm out all the time. I was thinking maybe I would just absolutely thrive. Sometimes I have a tendency to let seasonal depression get in my way, and I'm trying to not let that be the case this year. But I've just been, ruminating on the seasons, and in the summer it just sort of feels like anything and everything's possible. You have longer days and you're outside and you're moving around, and then the winter just slides in real quick, and it almost sort of feels like the universe is telling you to maybe just go relax and be with your people for a minute. It's easy to forget who you are in the hustle and bustle of things, but when things slow down like this, you start to think like, who am I when I am just sitting at home? And that hasn't been the quite case for me in many years in the winter. If I'm being honest, this is the first year I can just sort of take a step back and look at the holidays and relax a little bit. It had been quite the opposite these past 5 years at FedEx. And to any FedEx or UPS worker out there right now listening to this, I just want to say, please have a safe peak this year. Be careful. And to anyone listening who may be getting a package or something delivered online this year that one of those guys are bringing to your house, a $5 bill or even just a Debbie cake or Gatorade goes a long way. And I know because I've been in those ranks, and it means a lot during the holiday season to us. You don't even know how it can brighten our day, or it goes a long way. Some of these people in Dublin, and I'm sure Shadyside and all across the Ohio Valley, people are really generous everywhere. And I found that with a lot of the houses I delivered to. So the main thing, like I said, if you're out there working or delivering packages listening to this, please be safe. The main thing, the most important thing is that you and the truck come back. That is the most important thing. And during and in these quiet months, you can find that these might actually be the most important ones of the year, because they sort of determine how you're going to start off next year. It can help decide what kind of man or woman you end up being when springtime comes. And now, don't get me wrong. Are you going to consume a ton of bad stuff for you this time of year? Likely. Me too. Are you going to put in the work to combat that? Well, that remains to be seen. Even for myself. But I've been on a roll lately since my injury has healed up. I feel like my workouts are going really good. Also, I silently failed 75 hard. Really didn't want to tell anyone, but I did. I forgot to take a darn selfie, so guess I'm back to day one. Nonetheless, we'll make another attempt soon enough. If you think 75 hard is easy in any way, I invite you to try it for yourself. Maybe one day we'll get into actually how I ended up getting that book. It's quite a funny story, but either way, I failed again, but I'll get back to it. Like I said, my true attempt is going to be March 1st. It's so hard for me to, and you'd think it'd be easy, but I just forgot to take a selfie. It really can get you. I got all these tools to stay organized, and yet I still find myself failing myself. So, the years just feel so cyclical. And that's sort of what I was talking about with me starting to feel a little bit of the seasonal depression now that it's not sunny out and I can't be shooting my basketball. I get the same kind of feelings around this year or around this time of year every year. And it's just, how your brain reacts to the air getting cooler and it getting dark so early. It just starts sort of checking in on you. But this year has been a little bit different for me with everything that's happened with Patrick, and it just has. And because of that, family feels a little more important to me this year. And loved ones feel a little bit more important this year. I'm hoping to get some time spent with them over the holidays. I really just, the most important thing in this life, guys, is love. And the most important thing that we have in this world is each other. So you really don't know how many holidays you get with certain people. And you don't know how many more stupid or silly little moments you get sitting around a table arguing about fantasy football or talking about nothing until you suddenly don't. So it's important to seize the day a little bit. Not that you have to like stop the grind or anything, or slow up in pursuing your goals, but it's just important, I think, to feel the moment a little bit, especially when you get to spend them with the people you love and care about, because those moments are really important. Like I said, love is the most important thing, and it's still important to work hard every day, but cherish the moments with the people you love. Call them, show up for them, be there for them. It's funny, I say something every year around this time of year, and I'm going to say it this year too. 2026 is going to be my year. I've been saying that every year since about 1998. And I can't remember the last time it was my year. But I'm hoping this year is the one. 2026 is going to be it. And I'm not even joking. I wonder how many years straight I've said that about the next year. It's never while we're really in the moment do we appreciate it, right? It's always looking back when we're on this other side of something. Looking back, being like, damn, that was really a season of my life. That was a whole chapter. That was a whole era of my life and a time and place, and I didn't even realize it while I was living it. It's not until now, when I look back on it in hindsight, was I really so aware of how great it actually was. And that's why I think it's important to cherish these moments with these people, because after the fact, that's really all you have. It's going to be cliche, but they call it the present because it's a gift, And maybe this winter season and these 2 winter months, even though it feels like they're slowing us all down, maybe it's not actually wasted. Maybe this cold we deal with in Ohio isn't actually that damning. Maybe it's, even though the snow and this ice can really suck, maybe this winter season is built-in time that, the world gives us every 10 months to just be with friends and family and your own thoughts, and to slow down the hustle and bustle and sort of be with family and relax. Now, like I said, I wouldn't know much about that. That's why I'm trying to experience this year, because I haven't done it in 5 years. See if it's how I remember it, or if I should just go back to working every holiday for the rest of my life, which also wasn't that bad. But from the time I can remember to the time I was 20 years old, I always had really, really good, wholesome holidays, and I'm thankful and blessed to always have had good Christmases. And then for a little stretch of my life, Christmases weren't so good for a while. And looking back, 2019 was a really good Christmas for me because I got to spend it with my brother and my dad and my brother's wife and his kids, and it was a good time. And then, I haven't really had a Christmas like that in a while where I got to spend it with him. And I don't know, man. There's so many, and then the recent Christmases after that, they were all tarnished memories now because of my ex. And it's, well, not tarnished, I shouldn't say that, but just feel a little different now that, she made the choices she did, and that's so unfortunate. It's just, well, life's not easy, man. And the holidays have become more about giving for me over these years, and it really, really brings joy to me to see the joy on other people's faces when they get or receive a gift. I think my favorite thing about the holiday season is giving or surprising someone with gifts, or I don't know. It's sort of always been. I think I've got enough for 2 lifetimes being spoiled by my mom and grandma when I was young. I don't really need any gifts myself. My favorite part of the season is the giving part and trying to help others and being there for people. And I hope and would expect y'all to do the same this holiday season. I think it's so exciting bringing joy to other people. That is one of my favorite things. So, speaking of seasons, and Shadyside and friends and family, one of my favorite winter memories is actually the weight room back in Shadyside. And, there's been a lot of time there spent in the winters with the fluorescent lights buzzing and, the rubber mat smells and the sweat and just the fellas just being absolute boys in the weight room. And, well, I say all that to, I'm going to highlight another memory from our top 100 memories list. And I was just trying to get you ready for it. This was on the list. I believe it was number 30. Weight room memories. Here we go. If you really want to understand Shadyside football, you don't start on a Friday night under the lights. You start in a low-ceiling room with white cinder block walls, orange and black stripes, and more rust than chrome. The field house. That weight room. The smell always hit you first. Metal, rubber, sweat, a hint of whatever cleaning spray Phil half-heartedly used last week. An old stereo sat crooked in the corner. Big black box with a broken knob, coughing out distorted rock or rap depending on who got there first. Plates would clang, benches creak. Somebody would yell pumped up about a new PR. On the wall in the film room, Don Fleming watched over everything. Number 46 in his Browns uniform. Jaw set, painted like he was still right in the middle of a play. Under him, one word in big letters. Tradition. You had to walk past that painting to get to the field, and on game days, every dude that came through slapped that sign on the way out like it was a promise. Not just to the team, but to every old head in town who still talked about back when Shadyside really hit people. The rest of the walls were a time capsule from the 70s and 80s. Cracked mirrors screwed in crooked, a tiger baring its teeth, a massive barbell across its shoulders, with the words, "Every man must become something bigger than himself." Next to it, another sign in thick black letters on orange. Commitment, the line you must cross going from dreams to reality. You don't really get it at 16. They're just words you see so often, they turn into background noise. But the older you get, the more those signs come back to you at weird times. Job interviews, funerals, long drives home alone. The equipment matched the town perfectly. Dependable, rugged, nothing fancy, built to last. Blue machines with black pads, cracked at the seams where thousands of backs had leaned. Thousands of shoulders had pressed. Old black squat racks chipped away and rusty, like they'd survived 3 different coaching staffs and refused to die. The mirrors gave you 3 versions of yourself at once. One stretched, one squished, one almost true. You learned to stop worrying about how it looked and to focus on the bar, but you always knew which mirror would make you look the most pumped too. Most days it was a swarm of absolute teenage chaos. 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds in cutoffs and old practice shorts, loading plates, talking shit, spotting each other like their lives depended on it. Then there was always a recent alum or two who didn't quite make it to play college ball doing curls in the corner near the squat rack. Then somebody else trying Olympic cleans for the first time, maybe nearly launching the bar into orbit, chalk dust all over the floor. And then there was Fij, a true staple of many of me and my friends' memories at the Shadyside weight room. Mr. Fij didn't just use the weight room, he belonged to it. Late 40s, neck like a tree trunk, arms with roped muscle, always in a loose blue cutoff that looked one flex away from exploding. He didn't need a whistle or a clipboard. His presence was authority. He'd stroll in, survey the room like a foreman on a job site, and you'd hear it. "What up, bruh?" It wasn't a question, really. More of a temperature check. You answered with your energy. If you were dragging ass that day, you felt it in your chest when he walked past your rack and didn't bother to say much to you. Nobody really fucked with Fij. The look alone sort of fixed your form. Guy was always moving a ton of weight. Fij was the meathead mentality in the best possible way, but he was also very understanding and a soft guy. He could talk and relate to anybody. Heavyweight, hard work, great heart. On Thursdays after a lift, you knew you might run into him at the grill on Central. He might be there with Tommy. Tommy was Fij's sidekick. Slick black hair, chain around his neck, white t-shirt tucked into blue shorts like some Italian mobster decided to moonlight as a strength coach. Where Fij was all brute force and iron, Tommy was angles and mobility. He'd be off in a corner explaining to some kid why your ankles were just as important as your quads. You'd hear his voice float through the noise. "You know, Jimmy Peel says," some inside reference that made you feel like if you knew, well then you really knew. Together, they were like this old two-headed guardian of the weight room. You didn't see it clearly then, but those two helped shape you almost as much as any teacher, any friend, or any parent talk at the kitchen table. Just in a different language. Sets, rep, effort, and knowledge. Out there, beyond those white cinder block walls, the whole town is betting on that weight room, without even knowing it. Old men sit at the Tiger Pub and the Boat Club, telling stories about past teams. Mothers in line at the Convenient or IGA asking how the boys look this year. Little kids riding their bikes past Donaldson Field, imagining themselves in orange and black one day. Shadyside was, and is, the kind of place where a group of 16, 17, 18-year-old kids in a beat-up weight room carry way more than just a football. They carry the mood of fall, the reason people have somewhere to be on a Friday night, the excuse for everyone to come together and believe in something for a few hours. We never understood it back then, what that room was really doing. You thought you were just trying to get stronger for Central, or for River, for whoever was across the line that week, slapping the tradition sign because that's just what we did. But years later, you're sitting in a different city, a different job, with different problems, and out of nowhere a memory flashes. Blue machines, rusty racks, cracked mirrors. That sign, commitment, the line you must cross going from dreams to reality. You realize that every time you show up tired, every time you load the bar scared, every time you push past what you thought was your limit, you cross that line, inch by inch. Those boys in that beat up Shadyside weight room had no idea they were building more than legs, chests, and backs. They were building a version of themselves they'd be grateful for years later, even if the only ones who ever really understood it were the ones who were there. I hope you enjoyed all that. So I want to start bringing more of those memories into the pod this winter, reminding us, sort of where I came from and where me and my friend group came from, sort of while we figure out where we're going. Those locker room memories and that weight room, the bus rides, they're not just like really nostalgia. They're like the reasons I feel like I am who I am. So that being said, the word of the day this week is light. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others. I encourage everyone to be the difference in the world that you want to make through your light. Light itself doesn't have to try super hard. It just sort of shines. There's not much to it, When the sun's out, light shines unless there's clouds in the way. But the light still shines. That's why it's daytime. It can be dimmed, yes. And I think winter is sort of a test of that. When it's dark outside and when people are feeling a little down and sad, and when the year's been a little bit heavy, it's sort of difficult to be so airy and loose and happy. And I get that. But try to be the light in the people who need you most life. And I believe Jesus makes that easier. John 8:12 tells us, again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Psalm 27:1 tells us, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Being light is many things in life. It's checking in on your friends. It's keeping your word. It's showing up for family stuff, even though you might not want to and you're in your own head. And it's just working on yourself quietly. So you're not pouring from an empty cup towards others. The word of the day is light. And as you go through these next couple months of darkness, ask yourself, am I adding light into the rooms I walk into, or am I taking it away? So one of the things I've been thinking about going into this winter is how do I build places for my podcast and my community to not just be stuff that you scroll past, but for me to sort of library it and help it grow. And I told you guys I was looking into a Skool community or maybe a Patreon. And by the time you're hearing this, I'm either right on the edge of launching those, or they might already be up. Not quite sure. If they are up, there's probably free to join right now. So maybe embrace that if you do care to join. They might not be free forever. I definitely haven't implemented any pay structure just yet. But the vision for it is simple. It's just like bonus podcast stuff and clips that don't quite make the main feed. Maybe Q&As. Easier place for you guys to reach me other than email for questions. Or just even contact about future collaborations. A lot of other creators and stuff are on there. So that might help me land different types of gigs and stuff like that. It's just something I'm using to try to expand my growth. So there might be some little bit of me singing some covers of a few songs karaoke style. That's just been something I've wanted to do since I got the dang microphone. Maybe hopping in and being featured in some video games with the squad, with winter here. Who knows? I've actually recently hopped on the game, and we'll get into that next. Just in any other dumb stuff I can think of, maybe some of my basketball videos in a collection. Just stupid stuff, honestly. But if you want to pay $1 and see it, be my guest. If you don't, keep scrolling. It doesn't matter. Someone might want to see it. So if we're all going to be inside anyway, I just sort of like for us to have more places we can actually meet in and you guys not just listening to me talking to the void all the time. So if that sounds like something you guys would be cool with, just letting you guys know that's where we're headed. I'm building this whole podcast and for people who truly care about me and feel and resonate with these episodes, and not really just for the casual listener. I really do like to collab and want to with my community and get them involved, and this seems like a great way to do that. So we're also touring around with like ideas for live sessions. Right now we have the TikTok live up, Twitch, maybe both, I don't know. We're seemingly getting the gaming thing back going now that the winter has shown its ugly face, so I'll probably be streaming some games on the podcast from time to time through the podcast TikTok. So don't be surprised if you see me live running some games and talking life and just sort of vibing. I don't have Call of Duty or anything yet, but I've just been playing some Fortnite and things like that. So if you see that come across the feed or my Facebook, that means I'll put it out there and I'll be live on there playing some games. And it's not just games. I picture some nights where maybe Scott's over here and we're watching the games or strumming the guitar a bit. Maybe I'm singing along, just riffing on life between songs, maybe watching some playoff football. We're going to use the live platform and explore with it a little bit. Who knows? Bets, relationship questions, just real-time hangout type stuff. Without it all just, being produced to you weekly. Just some interactive, live, on the go, back and forth we could get going. So, winter can feel long and heavy, and if we're all going to be inside anyway, let's at least make it fun, and maybe we can have some laughs along the way. That's what life's all about, is laughing and having a good time. So, all right. Next, we're going to bring back the little segment we started last week. This is Hits Deep. I got 2 videos for you guys that I wanted you guys to watch, and here we go.
I don't give a fuck if you.
Here we go.
You have a drink because you guys are driven and motivated. The individuals that I used to hang out with that are full-blown fucking alcoholics, I needed to disconnect from because their entire personality is alcohol. I don't care if you drink. It just reaches a point where if every single time I am with you, all you want to do is drink and go to the bar, I can't be in that environment anymore. I need to disassociate. And that's where the conversation needs to be had, because in order to grow, you need to do things differently. I didn't want to be an alcoholic anymore, so I needed to get sober and stop hanging out with people that only ever wanted to go to the bar. I realized who my friends were because it wasn't like I was attached to them as a sober individual where we could hang out and talk about anything. The only conversation that we could have was drunk. And that's where the conversation needs to be had.
So I thought it was useful for you guys to watch that video. While I don't really feel like that, not like I had needed to disconnect from my friends. I was actually lucky enough I sort of told my friends that I was going to be doing 75 hard and going to be going sober for a while, and they were all super supportive and had my back completely, so I never really felt that way. But I know there are people out there who needs to hear that message about maybe disconnecting from that bar scene and getting away from drinking. And just know I'm always here to support you if you are on that journey. I know how tough it can be, and I'm currently haven't had a drink since I think me and Mason had a drink together at last, and it didn't go well. So I just want you guys to know I'm here for you in that regard. If anyone would, need to talk or anything about drinking, but sometimes you do need to get out of those people, away from those people who only want to ever go to the bar and you feel like they might be bringing you down. And these 2 videos, when I was looking for videos this week, they just happen to be back to back. So here I'm going to go ahead with the next one because this one kind of links into that one. Here we go. Maybe. There we go.
The worst thing that you could do to yourself is not become the person that you are meant to be. the second worst thing that you could do to yourself is be with someone who doesn't want you to be the person that you're meant to be.
So I also thought that one was very powerful, because it certainly tied into. I had to stop drinking to become the person I wanted to be, and I knew that. So when these two videos came at me one after the other, I was like, wow, I'm going to feature those two this week, because I thought they were both really good videos. And, you can scroll back through this and watch them again. But yeah, guys, I just know my momentum's been hit a little bit recently with all this cloudiness and this colder weather. But, I just want to remind you that momentum isn't always what people can see. Sometimes the most important stuff is the stuff that absolutely nobody's clapping for you for yet. It's the tiny work you're doing in the background. From the distance, winter can look desolate, but there's work happening underneath the frost. There's seeds planting their roots. Just because the leaves are gone doesn't mean the tree's not alive. And that might be you right now. So I just want you guys to know that I'm here for you, and I love y'all, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep a lookout for the live TikToks. Keep a lookout for more stuff about the school and the Patreon. Keep a lookout for more episodes and interviews. I'm going to be making some returns back home here coming up for the holidays, so I hope to get at least a few interviews done for you guys. And, I really do appreciate you guys tuning in, and it means the world to me, everybody who's watching and paying attention. And, if there's stuff you'd like to see on the pod, please don't be bashful, and I encourage you guys to interact. Even though I'm not the best at taking criticism, I still love to get feedback, even if I have to work through criticism in my own way. Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate you all. We will see you Wednesday.